Hey everyone, Richard Gibbons here, Executive Director for SWMLS, and today I actually want to give you guys a bit of an update on the Sitzer and Burnett case, where we just had the jury verdict on October 31st, and I kind of want to go through and give you guys some perspective and some FAQs of some things that are going on here. So, of course, we're talking about legal stuff, so I have to start off with the disclaimer. I am not a lawyer, never want to be one. This video is informational only. This is not legal advice, and please consult your own attorney for your specific situation. That being said, let's dig into it. Some of you may be asking, what case? So this is a class action lawsuit that was originally filed in the state of Missouri in April of 2019. We just got the verdict October 31st of 2023, so you can understand how long it takes these kind of things to work their way through. The defendants in the case is the National Association of Realtors, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Keller Williams, Anywhere, and RE/MAX. Roughly a month before the case went to trial, Anywhere and RE/MAX both settled out of the case, but NAR, Berkshire Hathaway, and Keller Williams took it to trial. In this case, the plaintiffs claimed that real estate commission rates are too high and that buyer brokers are being paid too much, and that NAR's rules and the corporate defendants' practices created collusion, which led to set pricing that kept commissions artificially inflated. And then on October 31st, the jury found NAR and the co-defendants liable and awarded damages for up to $1.8 billion with a B. So let's look a little bit about the truth here. So first off, a lot of this centered around NAR's cooperative compensation rule. That basically just says that if a listing is in the MLS, the compensation amount must be listed. And this creates an efficient, transparent, and equitable marketplace. In fact, the MLS system is truly the envy of the world. Our system only exists as it is in the United States and Canada, and everywhere else in the world falls far short of the efficiency and transparency that we provide in our marketplace. Time and time again, studies have shown that sellers who sell on the MLS earn more for their home during the sale than they would without the MLS. And importantly, we drive innovation because in competition because buyers can actually afford representation. They're not always held to dual agency. A story I tell often is that when I bought my first home, I had $400 in my bank account. That there's no way I would have been able to afford my own representation were it not for the cooperative compensation rule that NAR creates for us. And then finally, small brokerages can thrive. In countries that don't have a cooperative compensation rule and don't have the MLS system that we have, large brokerages dominate the market, and small brokerages often don't even exist because they don't have the critical mass of listings necessary to be competitive. The other thing that NAR tried to explain during the case is just who are realtors. I'm not telling anybody any secrets here. Realtors are hardworking, everyday Americans. They are small business owners who help navigate consumers through the complex the real estate purchasing process of the largest transaction of financial transaction of people's lives. And realtors are also advocates of fair housing and home ownership and have worked for over 100 years to help advance that. So the statement from NAR on this is here it is from Tracy Casper. This matter is not close to being final. We will appeal the liability finding because we stand by the fact that NAR rules serve the best interest of consumers, support market-driven pricing, and advance business competition. That was by Tracy Casper, the 2024 NAR president. And as I mentioned a second ago, NAR was formed 100 years ago because there was a need for a higher level of ethical practice. So we all, as realtors and members of this organization, should be proud to continue to serve in that role, advocating for home ownership and always putting clients' interest first. So let's get into some frequently asked questions here. First off, what's next? As I already said, NAR will appeal the findings and that this is far from over. So due to the nature of appeals, this case is likely not going to be concluded for several years. The basis of appeal is something that it's asked a lot, but predictably, NAR is not going to disclose their strategy to the public, right? Because then the plaintiffs would be able to compete against that. But they have said that they have a very strong legal basis for their appeal. One question that's floated around a lot: can NAR afford the appeal? NAR does have the funds to post bond, which will allow them to proceed with the appeals and defer potential payment of damages. Appeals are going to take years, but while they're confident they will prevail, they're also financially prepared to pay any final judgment. This is something NAR has prepared for and has a strategy in place to be ready in case anything happens. Another question is, will NAR settle? NAR has always been open to a resolution that maintains a way for buyers and sellers to continue to benefit from cooperative compensation. And the resolution would also need to eliminate members' risk of liabilities for the claims alleged. They are still confident that they will prevail on appeal, but as long as those two criteria are met, NAR does remain open to that possibility. Another question, will there be an injunction? Of course, we cannot guess what the plaintiffs are going to do. NAR, of course, would contest any such effort for an injunction because this rule has always been in place to serve the best interests of consumers and have that market-driven pricing and advancing competition, as said before. And finally, what does the future of buyer representation look like? Currently, this verdict does not require any kind of a change in the rules. Of course, if the class action attorneys had their way, buyer representation would very much be at risk. And that is why NAR is fighting for it, because we want to protect the idea of buyer representation and of the consumer able to get that representation. This is that whole conversation about dual agency and sub-agency is something that NAR addressed and resolved decades ago, and they're losing the concept of buyer representation and through cooperative compensation would put us back into the dark ages. So that is something that NAR is going to continue to fight for. So that begs the million-dollar question these days of what should I do? As just a broker on the ground trying to serve your customers, what should you be doing right now? And my message there is keep calm and keep serving consumers. There's no secret to anybody watching this video that realtors provide incredible value to consumers for navigating through the complex real estate purchasing process. So keep doing that. As mentioned earlier, this appeal is going to take a long time. But that being said, I'm not advocating for putting your head in the ground. These kind of challenges to our industry are important and could lead to significant changes. So there are some things that NAR has recommended for a very long time that you should be incorporating into your business. And to be clear, these things are things that NAR was advocating for well before this case was even filed. So this is nothing new, but they are good business practices. The first is the use of buyer-broker agreements. The statement that I've heard there that I really like is that it is very hard for someone to claim they don't understand how you are paid when they sign something that says they understand how you are paid. That those buyer-broker agreements really maximize transparency and make sure that everybody is aware of exactly how you are paid as a realtor. And secondly, you also need to communicate that commissions are always negotiable, and they always have been negotiable. Again, that transparency to the consumer is really important here. Continue to communicate your value proposition. Economics 101. If you provide value, the market will pay for it. So you do need to continue to communicate the value proposition of what you provide to consumers, either on the listing side or the buying side of a transaction, and how that helps drive the value for their purchase. A word of warning. There's a lot of news going around right now. There's a lot of podcasts, a lot of blogs, a lot of talk, a lot of chatter and social media channels. Use some discernment with your news sources. There was a podcast that on the way to work this morning, I pulled it up and listened to it for a little bit, that is very popular among realtors. I listened to that podcast for 2 minutes, and within that 2-minute period, I counted 4 things that were said that were absolutely false. So make sure you are verifying your sources. If you make sure you're hearing the same thing from more than one place, and really lean on the resources that are being provided to you, which leads to my final bullet point: stay informed. Both NAR and GAAR are providing a lot of different resources for you to help navigate these changes. A really important piece of information with that staying informed, this information is hitting the national news. It's been in the New York Times already. It's been in the Wall Street Journal. It was on a lot of the morning shows. So this is hitting national news. And, consumers and humans in general, we just read the headlines. And those headlines right now are saying things like realtors found liable of keeping commissions artificially high. So you're going to get questions about this from your consumers. So here are some of the resources you can use. The first one is competition.realtor. That's a website that has a lot of information about this case. It sets the record straight on a lot of things about against what the plaintiffs are claiming and outlines NAR's defense. RealestateCommissionFacts.com is an incredible website created by NAR that you can point consumers to that help explain how realtor commissions are paid. NAR has their own update and Q&A page for the Sitzer case as well. And then there's been a couple GAAR blogs put out recently that help communicate your value as a realtor, explain the benefits of the MLS to your clients, and talking about how MLS marketplaces advance home ownership. All the links to those resources are going to be in the description below, so you have links to that as well. So just in closing, keep calm, keep serving your consumers, verify your resources, stay informed, and keep an eye here at GAAR and NAR for further information. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.